Welcome everybody. Today we are going to be doing Lovecraft. So I have been using Blender to create Lovecraft inspired pictures, to say the least. The goal here is that I'm going to show you how we can use hair particles in Blender 2.8 to generate an image like you're seeing in front of you right now. So let's just get right into this. All right, we're going to get started by adding an icosphere. To this icosphere, we're going to go into modeling, edge, subdivide. We're just going to subdivide it once, up to smoothing. All right, and then we're going to add a particle system. I'm going to change its type to hair. We're going to change the number down to 75. You can see the hairs are really short. So we're going to increase the length of those to 200. So now they're sticking out. Under render, we're going to make sure this is set to path. You can leave the emitter. Okay. Under hair shape, we're going to change this controls the shape of the hair. So at the base of the hair, or the root, we're going to increase that to 10. And the tip, we're going to change that to, let's say, 1. Okay. Now, if you're looking at this, it doesn't look like the base and the tip are, changing in diameter. One thing you got to be aware of, if you're using Eevee, then you need to change from the strand mode to the strip mode. Because if you go back to the particle system and you start increasing the radius, you notice like nothing happens. But if you come back to the Eevee configuration, if you turn on strip mode, you'll see now we have a thicker base and a thinner tip. Now, if you're using cycles, you want to go to cycles, turn on hair, and instead of thick and line segments, we're going to change this to curved segments. And I'll show you why that is in just a minute. So now that we have our hairs, we're going to add a force to get the curvature in the hairs, or some turbulence. So we add a turbulence node. We go to physics, or a turbulence field. We're going to leave it on point, and I'm going to change the turbulence to, let's say, 150. Yeah, that's still a little weak. Let's change. Let's go to 500. Okay. Now, one thing you're going to notice here is the sort of curvy. The angles are not very smooth. They're very rigid. So the way that you fix this is you go back to your particle system. And on viewport display, you want to change the strand steps and increase these. So you'll see as I increase them, the smoothness of the curvature changes. So that's looking pretty good. I would like to get the tentacles to be a bit fatter on the bottom. So I'm going to go back to the hair shape. And instead of 10, I'm going to do 20. Okay. So now let's take a quick render of this. I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, there's no camera. So you do add camera, and then we're going to align the camera to the active view, or Control-Alt numpad 0. I'm going to go to the camera node, change the focal length, reduce that down so we can see the entire item. And now we're going to render. Oh, it looks like I forgot to add any light in here. Let me add some light real quick. So I'll just add an area light. So if we look at the render, you can see that in the render there's these joints that, you know, are not quite being smooth, and we're still a little rigid throughout this. So let me go back to the particle system. I think I just selected something else there. If we go back to cycles, oh, no wonder that was slow. You want to change your primitive to curve segments. Okay, and now when we render, you see that we have very smooth looking tentacles, and everything looks great. All right, we're going to go ahead and add in our second particle setting. And I'm going to change it to hair. I'm going to leave it at 1,000. We're going to set the viewport display. We're going to change the steps up to 7. The render is going to be a path. Okay. And the shape of the hair is going to be different. Now, in this case, the length, we're going to set that. So originally we did it to 300. These we're going to set it to 500. And you'll notice that you cannot see them right now. So we're going to increase this radius scale. So the more I add in here, now you can see that we can see all of these little individual hairs. Let's do a quick render and see what that looks like. Yeah, so the render looks pretty good. I think we have way too many little hairs going on here, and the size of our other tentacles is being hidden. So let me change those around real quick. So I'm going to drop down the number of hairs that we have. I'm going to go down to about 600. I'm going to lower their thickness just a bit. Just go down to like 0.87. And for our other particle settings, I'm actually going to make these longer. So I'm going to make these 350. That's too big. Let me frame this up in our camera again real quick. Yeah, I think we're going to go down to 300. Let me just render that out real quick and see. Fantastic. So I think you're getting the idea here. You can play with these settings a lot. You can control the number of hairs. You can add multiple layers of particle systems in here. There's a whole lot you can do. And you can see with a few basic things and just a small amount of know-how in manipulating these, you can create some amazing effects with this. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. It's simple, and I definitely have learned a lot from other YouTubers making Blender videos. specifically Ducky 3D. I really appreciate the tutorials he's done. And I encourage you to go out and start making Lovecraft-inspired artwork all on your own. Thanks again. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you have a safe and happy weekend. Take care. Bye.